Revealed, the amazing love story of a billionaire and the poor mechanic who changed his life for, in the tiny town of Maplewood, where everyone knows each other's name, Jeremy, a 34-year-old mechanic, is a pillar in the community. With grease-stained hands and an unyielding heart, he spends his days not just fixing cars but weaving the tapestry of local stories, dreams, and hopes. Each engine he revives feels like a step closer to the American dream, a dream worn by modest circumstances but burning bright within him like a beacon. As summer gives way to fall, the annual town fair buzzes in the air. Excitement is palpable, filled with laughter, the smell of barbecue, and the sweet taste of homemade apple pie. But then, like a dark cloud over a sunny day, a sleek black luxury car rolls into town, drawing every eye it meets. Out steps Ethan Blackwood, a billionaire tech mogul weighed down by his riches. He wears a perfectly tailored suit, but the emptiness in his eyes reveals a longing for something more than wealth. Fate takes a turn when Ethan's car sputters, screeching to a halt right outside Jeremy's garage. Jeremy looks up, lips slightly parted in surprise. There stands the epitome of privilege, staring at him and his array of rusty tools. Their first exchange is awkward, Jeremy's easy blue-collar charm clashing with Ethan's polished demeanor. Yet, as days unfold, an unexpected friendship sparks. Over greasy parts and engine blocks, they share laughter and stories that slice through their barriers. Jeremy teaches Ethan that life's real treasures aren't bought but earned, while Ethan shares wisdom from boardrooms that ignite new ideas in Jeremy's mind. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but whispers soon fill the air. How could a billionaire and a mechanic possibly understand each other? A divide opens like a chasm in the town, and loyalty swells like a tide as neighbors rally around their own. Debate ignites, reflecting the quintessential American struggle of merit versus privilege. The town's dynamics fracture, leaving Jeremy torn between defending his humble roots and his newfound bond with Ethan. As the fair approaches, Jeremy's big moment arrives. The town square bustles with anticipation, the mayor ready to honor Jeremy for his unwavering service to the community. But as the eyes of Maplewood rest upon him, Jeremy faces an unimaginable choice. Should he dilute his accomplishments to spare Ethan's reputation? Or dare to seize the moment, risking a rupture in their friendship? Locked in their gaze, uncertainty crackles. Anxiety laces the air, but resolve kicks in, urging Jeremy to stand for what matters. Will love and understanding rise above societal judgment, or will the shadows of their pasts dissolve this unbreakable bond? Hearts race, breaths hitch, and the entire town waits, pinned to the precipice of what comes next. The town square was alive with chatter and excitement as Jeremy cleared his throat. The mayor stepped forward with a warm smile. Ceremony hung in the air, but it felt more like a noose around Jeremy's neck. This was his moment, and everyone was ready to applaud him. Yet, the pressure felt suffocating. Around him, faces turned eager. Friends, neighbors, the old and the young all vibed with anticipation. But then there was Ethan. He was standing off to the side, his expression a blend of worry and resolve. Jeremy's heartbeat quickened. This was about him and his journey, yet here stood Ethan, whose presence stirred a complex mix of emotions. Jeremy, the mayor's voice cut through the din, you've dedicated years of your life to our community. We honor you today for everything you've done. Jeremy took a deep breath. He could hear the enthusiastic crowd, but all he could focus on was Ethan's eyes, those deep pools of uncertainty. Struggling to formulate words, he thought of the townsfolk who lifted him in rough times, and yet they were now looking at him with unspoken judgments. He started, but he hesitated, glancing towards Ethan again. He thought of the nights they spent together in the garage chatting over the noise of working engines, of Ethan's laughter, his dreams, and their shared bonds. I want to share something. A murmur rippled through the crowd. What could he say? Would they accept him if he acknowledged the billionaire standing at his side? The moment was heavy, loaded with the weight of expectations, but also relief. He realized then that he couldn't dilute his truth. He didn't want to. I had a rough start, and many doubts along the way. I'm proud to be your mechanic, proud of our town, and sometimes life surprises you. You meet someone who, in many ways, teaches you as much as you thought you could teach them. A gasp echoed from the gathering, followed by whispers. Some townsfolk exchanged side-eye glances, rooted in the deep-seated notion that class and status should define relationships. But Jeremy continued, buoyed by the knowledge that honesty was his only route forward. Ethan Blackwood is a friend of mine. As their eyes met, he could see Ethan exhale deeply, the loosening of tension palpable. Ethan stepped closer, a quiet affirmation in the storm that surrounded them. It was a slow melody of disbelief and admiration. Some whispered in approval, while others simply looked puzzled. Yet, Jeremy pressed on. Our friendship showed me that people are not defined by the pounds they have in their pockets, but by their character. We all have something to offer. This was it. This was the bridge he wanted to build. Acceptance was unpredictable, but he knew he had to take that chance. Staring into his community's eyes, the flicker of hope ignited. The words hung in the air, resonating amidst the swirling uncertainty. Then, suddenly, a voice broke through the murmur. But what do you even know about him? He's just a man in a suit. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Gasps surged through the crowd, eyes darting between Jeremy and Ethan. Ethan stiffened at the accusation, but Jeremy felt a surge of determination. You think people are only what they show? He called back, emboldened. If you look deeper, you'll see a lot of hurt, ambition, and the will to change. That's real. We all have a story. The tension snapped like a tight wire, and a few people began to nod, slowly shifting the atmosphere in that charged space. Perhaps they weren't just combating privilege and merit, they were questioning their own biases, but underneath that tumultuous front, Jeremy felt something shift within him, a crack in the old beliefs, a glimpse of vivid possibility. The conversation stirred like wind in the trees, ripples of doubt and hope mingling. Where would it lead? As uncertainty hung thick, Jeremy found his gaze on Ethan again. Their friendship had become a lifeline, but could it thrive under the scrutiny of Maplewood's whispers? With a heavy heart, they stood together, braced against the world outside them, united yet uncertain. What awaited? Then when the dust settled, as the townsfolk erupted into scattered debate, an unyielding question pierced the air: were they destined to be friends, or would the weight of their worlds tear them apart? Jeremy could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze, like 100 eyes scrutinizing every flicker of emotion that crossed his face. The whispers grew louder, a chorus of confusion and intrigue that wrapped around him. He could sense the divide forming, pulled by the complexities of their lives. Ethan remained by his side, quiet yet resolute. Every heartbeat thudded like a drum, a reminder of what hung in the balance. Would they be able to weather this storm together? Maybe I should just step back, Ethan muttered, breaking the momentary silence between them, a hint of hesitation laced in his voice. No. Jeremy replied, perhaps too quickly. He knew this was their moment, not just as a moment that could redefine everything. You're as much a part of this as I am. He was overcome by the urge to reach out, grasp Ethan's arm to anchor him, but he hesitated. This moment was about trust and vulnerability. The crowd was shifting. Some were clearly still skeptical, holding on to the notion that class distinctions were unchangeable. Others, however, seemed caught by the sincerity in Jeremy's words. Faces softened, whispered judgments tempered by curiosity. I see you all every day, Jeremy continued, voice steadying. You cheer on your kids, support local businesses, and lend a hand to your neighbors when they need it. Just because someone wears a suit doesn't mean they don't feel, don't struggle, or can't be your friend. His words hung in the air, as if they were daring the townspeople to reconsider. Yet, just as he felt hope stir within him, another voice called out, louder this time. Friendship? Between you two? It was a woman with sharp features and narrowed eyes. How can you trust him, Jeremy? Look at what he represents. A ripple of agreement spread among the crowd, and Jeremy's heart sank. Isn't that the point? He spat back, unable to contain the fire building in his chest. Trust isn't always about what someone represents. It's about who they are inside. Isn't it easy to say that when you're standing next to a man with all the money in the world? She challenged, crossing her arms defiantly. Ethan's jaw clenched, but Jeremy put a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. Let us talk about it then. Let us talk about us, he insisted, lifting his chin defiantly. Ethan didn't come here to flaunt his wealth, he came here to listen, to learn. We all have our battles. Maybe it's time we shared them. The murmurs resumed, but there was a curious softness in them, as if some hearts were starting to open. The question remained, though, could this dialogue bridge the chasm between their worlds? Ethan turned to Jeremy, the concern still shadowing his eyes, but there was something else, a glimmer of optimism. I never wanted to be a secret, Jeremy, he said softly. I know, Jeremy replied, emotion surging. And you won TB. I promise. A spark ignited in the crowd. Faces shifted from confusion to contemplation. Slowly, a few people stepped forward, eager to ask questions, to share their own stories of struggle and hope intertwined, but then, just as the tide seemed to turn, a loud crash broke through the conversations. A group of teenagers, bored and restless, were pushing over a trash can in the distance, their laughter ringing out like a stark contrast to the tension in the square. People turned, distracted by the noise, and for a moment, the fragile connection that had started to build faltered. Jeremy! Ethan shouted over the chaos. This isn't over. We need to continue this conversation. As the crowd began to disperse, caught between moments of anger and understanding, Jeremy felt the pulse of urgency in his chest. Would those tentative steps towards acceptance fall apart, or could he and Ethan brave whatever came next? How could they rally the community? How could they break down the walls that still lingered? In the distance, the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows on Maplewood, hinting at the long road ahead. But amidst the uncertainty, one thought blared louder than the noise. There were stories yet untold, battles yet fought, and a friendship worth saving. With a deep breath, Jeremy tightened his grip on Ethan's arm. We need to show them who we are. Together the next chapter awaited them, and it might just change everything. Would they be strong enough to face the truth? The moment the crowd began to break apart, it felt like a sinking ship. Jeremy's heart raced. People turned away, lost in their thoughts and the distractions of the noise from the teens. Hey! Jeremy called out, his voice reaching for anyone willing to listen. Don't go. We're just getting started. He could see a few heads turn, but the majority were already drifting away, the earlier spark of connection fading like the evening sunlight. Ethan looked at Jeremy, his expression a mix of determination and uncertainty. They need to hear us, he said, the confidence in his voice faltering. I knew this wouldn't be easy, but it's worth it, Jeremy finished for him, knowing they couldn't back down now. We can make a difference. He stepped forward, letting go of Ethan's arm to address the remaining crowd. If you're feeling uncertain, if you have questions, let us talk about it. The only way we move forward is by sharing our truth. A few people paused, glancing at each other, exchanging looks of hesitation. Jeremy could feel the weight of their doubt, but he tightened his stance. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about all of them. Ethan joined him, standing tall. Let us share a little of who we are, he said. Not just the labels they've given us. Jeremy smiled at the unexpected courage Ethan displayed. Together, they could stand strong against the tide. I'm Jeremy, he called out. And I've had my share of struggles, even if my background isn't what you might expect. My family may have a little, but it hasn't been handed to me without sacrifice. I've had to work hard just like everyone else. A couple of voices murmured from the rear, weighed down by skepticism but also stirred curiosity. And I'm Ethan, he introduced himself, his voice calmer now. I thought I knew the world, the wealth and the privilege that came with my name. But I've learned something fundamental, it doesn't shield you from loneliness or the pain of feeling disconnected. I want to change that perception. Jeremy felt a surge of hope. It was happening, people were slowly turning back to listen. One woman, a mother of 3 with tired eyes, stepped forward. I just don't understand how someone like him can know what we go through. Ethan took a step closer, sincerity etched across his face. Neither did I until I saw it. Wealth can put up walls. But it can also be a tool for change. I want to understand your stories. I want to use what I have to help. Those words hung in the air, a ripple of possibility stirring within the crowd. The first hints of connection started weaving between them, fragile, but existing. A young man, hands stuffed in his pockets, broke through the crowd. You don't know how hard it is. You can't just come in here and ask us to trust you. Trust is built, not given, Jeremy replied earnestly. But we're here to start that journey together if you'll let us. There was a silence. Moments ticked by as he searched their faces, looking for signs of openness. Rain clouds gathered above, their presence felt but not yet unleashed. Maybe we could all sit together. Ethan suggested, hope lacing his words. It doesn't have to be here. We can meet at Joe's diner. Share a meal, share our stories. You can ask us what you want. Just give us a chance. A flicker of movement caught Jeremy's eye. He saw a few nods in the crowd. It was small but significant. A crack in the wall of apprehension. All right, the mother finally said, her voice softer. We'll listen if you listen. Thank you, Jeremy breathed, relief flooding through him. Ethan squeezed Jeremy's shoulder, and together they surveyed the gathering as more people shifted forward, inching towards participation. So, Joe's diner it is? Jeremy said, his heart swelling with cautious optimism. This was an opportunity, a chance not just to talk, but to really connect. But just as they began to feel the air electrify with potential, a voice erupted from the sidelines, cutting through the warmth of newfound trust. What if you're just using us for your own agenda? The tension resurfaced, tightly woven into the fabric of that moment. Jeremy felt his pulse quicken, anxiety flickering in his chest again. No, this is about community. Is it worth risking everything to prove that? The voice challenged. Ethan turned to Jeremy, eyes wide with concern. The question hung there, heavy as the clouds above. Would they be strong enough to face the truth of their intentions and the challenge laid before them? And in the heart of the gathering, with the weight of the past heavy on their shoulders, Jeremy and Ethan faced the horizon of uncertainty, ready to discover if the bonds could indeed mend the very fabric of their town. Could they truly change minds? Or would the scars of distrust run too deep? The air hung thick after the question was asked. Jeremy felt every set of eyes on him, weighing him down like stones. He looked around. They were expecting answers, real answers. He had to show them that he meant what he said. I wouldn't stand up here if I didn't care, Jeremy said, his voice steadying. This isn't a phase for me. I've watched too many people slip away without a chance to be heard. I'm fighting for a sense of belonging. My wealth doesn't shield me from that desire. It's the same for all of us. A small murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but the tension lingered, thick as the clouds gathering above. Would they really allow him to prove himself? With nerves churning in his stomach, Jeremy prepared to extend his hand further. Ethan leaned slightly towards him. Maybe it's time to share how we both got here, he suggested quietly, his eyes searching the crowd. Our struggles might resonate more than our victories. Good idea, Jeremy nodded, his heart racing again with the prospect of exposing more of their vulnerabilities. I mean, it wasn't always like this. He took a deep breath and launched into his story. I grew up in a neighborhood where everything was a little too easy for my family. But just because I had things handed to me didn't mean I understood the world around me. In fact, I often felt lost in my privilege. It felt like a bubble, and when I finally stepped out I struggled to find out what real hardship looked like. He could see the interest in their faces as he spoke. Each word began to pull them closer, each emotion shedding more light on his character. Would they now trust him? Ethan chimed in, and I realized it wasn't just about money. Beneath the surface, there's loneliness and isolation even in my world. I've often watched friends become rivals, only concerned for their own success. But what if we used our positions, in my case, privilege, and took the extra step? What if we let that drive us to bring people together instead of pushing them away? Their stories felt raw compared to that nagging doubt. But just then, a surprising figure stepped forward from the back, a scruffy man with a skeptical brow, one who had stood quietly and watched. You keep talking about your pasts like it's some fairy tale, he challenged, tone sharp. What about the people struggling right now? What do you know about that? Jeremy sensed the stakes rising again. This would determine their fate. He stepped forward, intent on showing vulnerability. I know nothing could prepare me for the day I lost a friend to addiction. All the privilege in the world couldn't save him. It rocked my foundation. It taught me that things aren't always as simple as they seem. I want to create a space where we can share these hard stories and not just the good ones. The crowd shifted. Some faces softened, others remained skeptical. But the seed of curiosity had been planted, and that glimmer of hope was enough for Jeremy. Meet us at Joe's Diner, Ethan interjected with renewed determination. Come share with us. We want to listen. No judgment. Just connection. Jeremy nodded, reaffirming Ethan's call. Exactly. Stories bring us together, and only by sharing them can we understand each other better. But you need to take that step, too. As uncertainty loomed, the scruffy man contemplated. After some beats, his fingers absently played with an old brass buckle. Jeremy hoped they'd see his sincerity. One by one, people began to talk amongst themselves, and whispers filled the air, the beginnings of a ripple effect. A few brave souls stepped forward, taking that leap of faith, but as Jeremy felt a rush of excitement, hope surged. Just then, the storm clouds broke open, releasing heavy rain that fell around them. Jeremy's heart sank for a moment, worrying whether they'd seek shelter instead of answers, but then he heard laughter from the crowd. Laughter. He turned to see a group of teens splashing in the puddles, cutting through the weight of expectation. Could laughter really bridge the gap? There it was, a spark of joy in the chaos, drawing smiles from faces hardened by life. Could they unite under a shared vision, even in the rain? Would the chance at connection outweigh the fears that had been there all along? Let us head to Joe's, rain or shine, Ethan urged, a grin plastered on his face. As they began to move, Jeremy felt the weight of the moment shift. Would they take this chance together? Could this storm turn into something beautiful? Rain cascaded down from the heavy skies, but it didn't dampen the energy that was building. The crowd moved toward Joe's Diner, laughter mixing with the sound of raindrops splattering on pavement. Jeremy couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency pushing him forward. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about everyone who had shared their stories and opened their hearts. As they entered Joe's, the warm light from inside was a stark contrast to the gray outside. The smells of coffee and frying bacon welcomed them like old friends. Jeremy took a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. This was a safe space, a place where they could unravel the tapestry of their lives together. People quickly grabbed seats in the cozy diner, sliding into booths and pulling tables together. There was an almost palpable buzz in the air. As the din of chatter warmed the room, Jeremy settled into a corner booth with Ethan. He was aware of the skepticism still lurking in some eyes, but other faces were illuminated with curiosity and a spark of connection. You okay? Ethan asked, catching Jeremy's gaze as the weight they both felt began to lift. "Yeah, I think so," Jeremy replied, finding his voice amidst the noise. "I just hope they'll open up like we did." "Just be patient," Ethan encouraged, scanning the room. "People need time. It may take a while, but they'll come around." Moments passed, filled with chatter and the friendly clatter of plates and cups. Finally, someone from the back began to speak. It was the scruffy man, the one who had challenged Jeremy earlier. He stood slowly, drawing the attention of others. "I didn't mean to be a jerk before," he began, his voice firm yet unsteady. "I'm Benny. And I've seen some stuff that shakes you to the core. You talk about loss. My sister, she's gone because of drugs. Same path. I can't pretend I don't know the pain of addiction or the weight of feeling helpless." He wiped a hand across his brow, and Jeremy could see vulnerability etched in his features. "But I haven't shared this with anyone, and I've hated feeling alone." As he spoke, Jeremy felt the room shift. Others leaned in, listening not just to Benny, but to the waves of grief spilling from his heart. He was taking a risk in sharing. One by one, more voices joined Benny's. A young woman with vibrant blue hair spoke about her struggles with anxiety, another person recounted their experience with homelessness. As stories flowed, Jeremy felt the air grow lighter, filled with a mixture of catharsis and release. Tears brimmed in his eyes as he watched the healing begin in real time. Faces that had once been distant emerged as poignant reflections of his own journey. Hope was burgeoning, the kind that created connections through shared pain. "Thank you for opening up, Benny," Jeremy said, feeling himself getting choked up. "It takes courage to share our stories. It reminds us we're not alone." Ethan nodded. "And it's through these moments that real change happens. Together, we can fight those feelings of isolation." Encouraged by this new wave of honesty, laughter echoed and voices rose in a comforting din. Somewhere between the confessions and the laughter, Jeremy caught a glimpse of possibility, a new community forming from the cracks of their wounded souls. Yet, just as things began to feel hopeful, a figure in a suit entered the diner, eyes scanning the crowd. Jeremy's heart sank. Who could that be? When the figure locked eyes with him, everything felt as if it had just gone cold. What was he doing here? The man's presence felt like a storm cloud looming over the newfound light. "Jeremy," the man called, striding towards him, a familiar cold smile on his face. "I need to talk to you. Now." As he approached, Jeremy's breath hitched. What could he want at this moment of vulnerability? Would this be the end of something beautiful before it had really begun? And in that instant, the laughter around him faded, replaced by the weight of confrontation about to unfold. The diner felt smaller, the air thicker. Benny's voice faded into the background as Jeremy's mind raced. He couldn't focus on anything the man in the suit was saying. Everyone around him was still lost in their stories, their laughter, their shared bonds, but the sudden shift in energy felt like a slap. "I told you to leave," Jeremy replied, his voice shaky but firm. He leaned forward, fighting the urge to look away. "You shouldn't be here." The man smirked, a glint of power in his eyes. "And yet here I am. You have a lot of people here who care about you. That's why it's even more important that we talk." He gestured dismissively toward the crowd. "They don't understand what's really at stake." Adam's words prickled at Jeremy's skin. The thought of his life, the chaos, the expectations creeping into this moment felt unbearable. "What's at stake?" Jeremy shot back, anger bubbling beneath his skin. "Because I finally found something real. A group that actually sees me. You came here to drag me away from all of this." The diner felt tense. People hesitated, eyes shifting uncertainly between the two men. It was as if they were watching a scene unfold in slow motion. Adam straightened his tie, unnerving Jeremy further. "This isn't about what you want," he said, his voice low and controlled. "It's about what you need, Jeremy. You're still tethered to a life that isn't yours. Don't let their emotions blind you to the truth. Jeremy felt like he was sinking, his heart pounding against his ribs. He wanted to scream, he wanted to tell Adam that for once, he was taking charge of his own life. Enough. Ethan's voice cut through the tension, solid and unyielding. He stood, placing himself protectively in front of Jeremy. You don't get to come in here and disrupt what's happening. This is a safe space. You should leave. A moment of challenged silence hung in the air, thick as fog. Jeremy appreciated Ethan's support, yet the anxiety coiled in his stomach wouldn't loosen. It wasn't just Adam, it was the uncertainty of what his presence meant for their circle. Adam's gaze flickered to Ethan, then back to Jeremy. I could make your life better, Jeremy. You know that. Why don't you let me help you? That word help felt like a knife. Joe's diner wasn't just a place to eat, it was becoming a sanctuary. Each sharing of pain had knit them closer, creating an unsteady but beautiful foundation on which to stand. I don't want your help, Jeremy said, his voice steadying. I want to choose for myself. I want to be here. Adam narrowed his eyes, frustration bubbling on his lips. You will regret this. With those words still echoing in the cramped space, Jeremy sensed the room shift. The crowd seemed to draw a collective breath, holding on to the fragility of the moment. Laughter mixed uneasily with unease. Suddenly, Benny stood once more. Listen, man. His voice was gravelly but earnest. We fight for ourselves when we fight for each other. We're stronger together. The others nodded in agreement, their solidarity vibrant despite the tension that in that moment, fear and hope collided within Jeremy's chest. This was his tribe, could he let that go so easily? As he turned back to Adam, the world around him fell silent. Who do you think you are? He asked, heart racing, the weight of the room crashing down. But deep inside, a small flicker of hope ignited. Would they stand united when it mattered most? As Adam scowled, stepping back, Jeremy finally felt the swell of courage. He wasn't ready to back down. Together, they could face whatever storm was brewing. But would the community hold strong, or would Adam's threat tear them apart before they could even begin to heal? Jeremy took a deep breath, ready to choose a future he hoped wouldn't shatter. Let's talk about what's next, he whispered to his friends, sensing the change, the possibilities. The dominoes of his life were set to fall one way or another. But Adam wasn't done yet. You haven't seen the last of me, he said quietly, retreating as the diner slowly returned to its warm chatter. With his heart still racing, Jeremy blinked. Against the uncertainty. He had chosen this moment, but the question lingered, was it truly the beginning of a brighter path or the open door to a darker reality? The diner resumed its rhythm, clinking cutlery mixing with laughter. Yet, the air still buzzed with the aftershock of Adam's presence. Jeremy took a deep breath, trying to ground himself in the warmth of his friends. It felt surreal to sit with them after such an explosive confrontation. They were matter-of-fact about their coffee refills, but Jeremy saw the lingering glances, the questions that broiled beneath their calm facades. He wished he could just blend back into the cheerful banter, but he felt like an outsider in a room filled with people who cared for him. The clash with Adam hung over him like a storm cloud, ready to rumble at any moment. Jeremy, Ethan said quietly, drawing him back from his spiraling thoughts. Are you okay? His eyes were filled with genuine concern, the kind that felt like a lifeline in choppy waters. I don't know, Jeremy admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought I was finally escaping, but then he showed up. Benny leaned in closer, his expression serious now. That guy has a way of creeping back into your life when you least expect it. But don't let him get to you. We won't let him. Jeremy nodded, but doubt still gnawed at him. Could they stand strong against a threat like Adam? His mind cast briefly back to all the times Adam had claimed to know what was best for him, how he had manipulated people and pushed them aside for his own agenda. I just want to focus on what's real, Jeremy said, trying to sound hopeful. This place, this family, it means everything. Good, Benny affirmed, cracking a smile to ease the tension. Then keep this crew close. We've got your back. The solidarity felt good, but Jeremy's heart still raced. He couldn't shake the feeling that Adam would find a way, just like he always had. As the diner settled back into a comfortable buzz, a new wave of laughter erupted from a nearby booth, and the sound made Jeremy smile, however faintly. Maybe there was hope. Maybe, just maybe, this community had the strength to withstand the storm. But even as he thought so, the sensation of being watched prickled at his back. Jeremy turned slightly, catching sight of a familiar face approaching the waitress from earlier, her hands clenching a tray. "Are you guys good?" she asked, her smile fading slightly at the serious expressions around. "Just dealing with some stuff," Jeremy said, forcing another smile. "Just so you know," she replied in a hushed tone, "that guy doesn't just talk. He has a history of not being great." She glanced nervously at the door. "You should be careful." The warning gripped him, sending a shiver down his spine. His heart started to race again, a cold realization dawning. Was Adam really capable of going beyond manipulation? What if he meant more than just words? "Thanks for the heads up," Jeremy managed, his throat dry. Andrew's presence in town felt scarier now. The evening wore on, but the laughter seemed muted, the shared joy dimmed by uncertainty. They finished dinner, discussing trivial matters, but Jeremy felt like he was only half present. He couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Jeremy looked up at the stars. Each twinkling light felt like a wish waiting to come true, yet all he could think of was the dark shadow looming ahead. He had to confront Adam soon, there was no way around it. "Hey, what's next?" Ethan asked, breaking the silence. Jeremy turned to his friends, determination igniting within him. He was ready to fight for the life he had chosen. "We prepare. We stay ready for whatever comes our way." But just as he spoke, his phone buzzed with an incoming message. He pulled it out, heart pounding as dread washed over him. It was from Adam. "Let us meet. You owe me a conversation." Every nerve in Jeremy's body set alight, an acute blend of fear and indignation surfacing. Could he truly handle the confrontation ahead, or had he underestimated the depths of Adam's determination? He shared the message with his friends, their expressions darkening. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on Jeremy's shoulder. "Whatever he has to say, we've got your back. We'll face him together." With adrenaline coursing through him, Jeremy nodded. He had no idea what the outcome would be, but one thing was clear, the real battle had just begun. Could they stand firm when it came down to the challenge that lay ahead? Would their bond hold strong against the storm Adam threatened to unleash? Jeremy's heart raced as he stared at the screen, the words flashing like neon signs in his mind. Adam's suggestion felt like a punch to the gut. How could he even think of meeting after everything? The very idea twisted knots in his stomach. "Are you serious?" Benny's voice cut through the tension. "You can't meet him alone." "I know," Jeremy said, his voice shaky. The reminder of Adam's manipulative ways haunted him, how easy it would be for Adam to slip back into his head. "But what choice do I have? He won't just let this go." Ethan stepped closer, his brow furrowing. "Then we go with you. There's no way we're leaving you to face him alone." It should have felt comforting, but a bitter pit formed in Jeremy's stomach. Their willingness to support him was a beacon in the darkness, yet he feared the storm it could unleash. "No," he insisted, shaking his head. "This is something I need to deal with myself. If I'm going to stand my ground, I have to do it on my own terms." "That's not fair," Benny argued, crossing his arms. "You can't face him alone. He's dangerous." "Maybe." Jeremy's voice dropped, a tremor betraying his bravado. But he doesn't know this part of me. He only knows the guy who was scared and lost. That's not who I am anymore. Silence fell among his friends, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. They could see the determination in his eyes, even if they didn't understand it. Yet, their fears didn't wane. Okay, just be careful, Ethan finally said, his gaze steady on Jeremy. That understanding, that shared history of struggles and victories, ignited a flicker of hope in Jeremy's chest. They had all faced demons together before. This felt no different in a way. Together or apart, I'll be okay, Jeremy replied, forcing a smile. Still, the moment he turned away, a knot of unease tightened in his gut. The cold breeze brushed over him, leaving a tingling sensation in its wake. They parted ways, with his friends throwing back glances as they left, still worried but trusting Jeremy's decision. He hesitated outside, his phone vibrating against his palm as another message from Adam lit up the screen. This time, it was almost a taunt, midnight at the old bridge. Don't keep me waiting. Jeremy could almost hear Adam's voice laced with arrogance. He knew that bridge well where their lives had intertwined, often in chaos. It echoed with memories both beautiful and painful, just like his past. And now, it would be the setting for this confrontation. As the minutes crawled, he made his way there, heart drumming erratically in his chest. His shoes crunched softly against the gravel path leading up to the bridge, the night air heavy with tension. Each step farther carried the weight of uncertainty. The shadows loomed larger, and he felt like a lone sparrow about to fly into the storm. The moonlight shimmered on the water below, casting wavering reflections that looked like ghosts of his worries. What would Adam say? What could he possibly want? Doubt clawed at him as he arrived at the bridge, the wooden structure creaking softly under his weight. Face it, Jeremy, he whispered to himself as he steadied his breathing, you've made it this far. You can do this. Then he saw Adam standing at the far end, silhouetted against the moonlight, his posture radiating casual confidence. The moment their eyes locked, it felt like time warped, the world around Jeremy dimmed, leaving only the brewing storm of confrontation. As he approached, heart pounding, Adam smirked. I knew you'd come. Let us get this over with, Jeremy said, trying to hold on to his courage. But deep down, a part of him quaked. Would this be the moment that broke him, or could he finally stand tall? The night felt thick with promise, of battles to be fought and truths to be uncovered. But before he could process Adam's next words, everything shifted. The storm was here, and there was no going back. In Jeremy's mind, the question loomed larger than anything else: what would Adam reveal that could change everything? As Jeremy approached Adam, the tension crackled between them, hotter than a summer's day. You think showing up here intimidates me? Jeremy shot back, keeping his voice steady. Adam chuckled, amusement dancing in his eyes. Intimidate? No. Just hoping you'd finally see the truth, he replied, stepping closer. Jeremy stood his ground, heart pounding, each beat a reminder of the friends who believed in him. I'm not here to have a heart-to-heart with you about your twisted views of truth. Adam smirked, feigning innocence. Twisted? Is that what you call it? He gestured wildly, hands open to the night sky. You've become part of something bigger. Those people appreciate you for what you do, but you're still running from who you are. Jeremy's anger boiled beneath the surface, but he steeled himself, focusing on the sincerity he had forged with his community. No, Adam. I'm not running. I'm finally embracing who I am. Those stories shared at Joe's. That's real. The breeze fluttered through the air, carrying the weight of Jeremy's words, but Adam remained unshaken, eyes glimmering like ice. So naive. Those people will turn on you, mark my words. Their loyalty has limits. You just can't see it through their rosy lenses. A part of Jeremy wanted to retreat, to grasp the familiar comfort of self-doubt, but the other part, the part growing stronger with every friendship forged, every story shared, pushed back. You know what, Adam? If their loyalty has limits, then that's just a reflection of your own. You think you can come here and dictate my life? I choose who I surround myself with. I choose love and connection. Adam's expression faltered for a fleeting moment, a chink in his armor. Love? He scoffed. Love doesn't pay the bills, it doesn't secure a future. Sorry, Jeremy, but that's a fantasy. No, Jeremy snapped back, voice rising. Love is what empowers us to break through walls, to invite conversations that matter. You wouldn't know that because you built your walls too high. Silence enveloped them, the moon casting silver light on the raging river below, reflecting the tumult of Jeremy's soul. Wall raising can be exhausting, can't it? Adam finally replied, his tone shifting subtly. But what happens when they turn on you? When they play you for the fool you're being? Jeremy took a deep breath, a rush of clarity flowing through him. I'd rather be a fool surrounded by good people than a king ruling in isolation. If being honest makes me a fool, then I'll wear that title proudly. Adam's brow knitted, his smug demeanor cracking. The weight of Jeremy's words hung in the air like a heavy mist, reflecting the battles they had each fought. This isn't just a game. I could pull strings in ways you can't even imagine, Adam warned, his tone menacing. Sure. Do your worst, Jeremy shot back. But you need to understand something, I won't back down. I've embraced my life, my friendships, and if you think you can snatch that away, then you don't know who you're dealing with. Just then, a flicker of movement caught Jeremy's eye, and he turned to see distant flickering lights on the horizon, the townsfolk from Joe's diner, coming to join him at the bridge. Their journey toward him felt like an anchor pulling him from the depths of doubt. See? Jeremy said, pointing toward the approaching lights. They choose me, too. They see something worth having. Adam's composure faltered entirely, watching as the collective presence drew nearer. With the warmth of community radiating toward him, Jeremy felt emboldened. You can't intimidate me anymore, he concluded, voice unwavering. Together, we'll forge our own path, free from fear, and no one, especially not you, can break that bond. As the silhouettes materialized into familiar faces, laughter and shouts of encouragement rang out, filling the night with a warmth that pushed back the shadows. This was love, real love woven and nurtured through shared struggles. Adam's brows narrowed, the corners of his mouth twitching in annoyance. You think this is over? You don't know what I can do. But I know who I've chosen to be. Jeremy replied, sturdy like the bridge they stood upon. You've underestimated the power of true connection. With the crowd closing in, Adam stepped back, glancing between Jeremy and his friends, the smirk now vanished. We'll see about that, he muttered before turning and disappearing into the night, retreating like the tide pulling away from the shore. A deep breath filled Jeremy as he turned to Ethan and the others, shining with friendship, full of hope. You did it. Ethan grinned, pride emanating from him like sunlight breaking through clouds. Jeremy let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding, tears of relief and gratitude welling up in his eyes. No. We did it together. The embrace of his community surrounded him, a tapestry of shared humanity enveloping him like a warm blanket. Laughter erupted, and as they stood there on that bridge, the weight of the world felt lighter. Together, they faced a future filled with uncertain challenges, but also with boundless love and undeniable connection. And as twilight faded into night, they walked forward, ready to write an even more extraordinary story together. Now, here's what you need to do. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click counts in bringing more amazing transformations like this to life. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. What moved you the most? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share, only true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions.